The train screeched to a halt, its brakes failing in the sweltering heat. Inside, a passenger shifted uncomfortably in their seat. Outside, the sun beat down on the rusted carriages, baking the passengers like potatoes in a hot oven. It was the kind of day that made you question the very meaning of existence. The kind of day where death itself seemed to take a holiday. But inside the carriage, something was stirring. A passenger was no longer breathing. The man slumped over his seat, his face ashen, eyes staring vacantly into the middle distance. Beside him, a woman clutched her chest, fear contorted on her face. She turned to the man, then to the conductor who was rushing towards them. His face creased with concern. "He's dead," she cried, her voice cracking. "He was fine a moment ago, and now he's dead." The conductor felt for a pulse, turned the man's head, checked for a tongue. There was nothing he could find. Death had come for this man, and there was nothing he could do about it. The train lurched forward, the wheels squealing in protest. The woman beside the corpse began to sob uncontrollably. The conductor, a burly man with a handlebar mustache and a heart as big as his girth, patted her on the shoulder awkwardly. "It's all right, Mum," he said, his voice gruff but kind. "It's just a bit hot today. Probably died of a heart attack. Happens every summer. Nothing we can do about it now." He helped the woman off the train and onto the platform. As the train pulled away, he saw her collapse on the ground beside the tracks, her cries echoing in his ears long after the train had left the station. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the passengers began to forget about the man who had died on the train, his memory fading like the scent of rain on hot pavement. But one passenger couldn't let it go. She was a young woman named Elara, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the man's death had been something more than just a heat-related death. There was something about the way he had looked at her before he died, a haunted look in his eyes that had sent shivers down her spine. She had seen the way the conductor had looked at her too, the way he had lingered a little too long on her as he helped her off the train. She had also noticed the strange gleam in his eye, the way he had held her gaze just a little too long. Elara couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was going on here. Now, I didn't know what it was, but she was determined to find out. She began by visiting the station master, a portly man with a pencil mustache who looked like he hadn't seen a day over 40. He knew nothing, or so he said, about a man dying on the train. He did, however, remember the conductor being particularly evasive. When questioned about it, the station master had tried to reprimand the conductor, but the man had simply shrugged off his complaints, muttering something about hot weather and old age. There was something in his tone, something that made the station master's skin crawl. Alara's next stop was the conductor's house. It was a small, unassuming building at the end of the train line. The windows boarded up, the paint peeling from the walls. As she stood on the porch, she could feel the darkness that emanated from the house like a physical presence. She knocked on the door, but there was no reply. She tried again, louder this time, and still there was no answer. Suddenly, she heard a noise from inside the house, a shuffling sound, like someone was moving about on the other side of the door. The sound stopped abruptly. Then the door opened, revealing a dark hallway. Slowly, she stepped inside, her eyes adjusting to the gloom. In front of her stood the conductor, his face pale, his eyes wide with fear. I didn't expect anyone to be here, he stammered. Come in, come in. He stepped aside, allowing her to enter. She could see that the house was in complete disarray. The furniture overturned, the walls covered with strange symbols and diagrams. And then she saw him standing in the corner, his eyes gleaming in the dim light. It was the man who had died on the train. But how? How is this possible? She whispered, her voice trembling. The conductor approached her, a strange smile on his face. Welcome, he said, his voice raspy and low. Welcome to the death train.